God told me to warn you. You're about to disappear from their reach completely. No joke. Something about this message feels different, doesn't it? Before you even heard the title, a quiet part of you already sensed that a chapter of your life was shifting in a way you could not fully explain. Maybe that feeling has been with you for weeks, or maybe it arrived only recently, like a gentle realization that settled into your heart when everything else became silent. If this message found you today, it is not because you were searching for answers. It may be because you were finally ready to recognize something you have been living through without having the words to describe it. Stay with this, because what you are experiencing is far more meaningful than it first appears. There are people who have known a version of you that no longer exists. They remember the person who doubted themselves, the person who waited for approval, the person who felt responsible for carrying everyone else's expectations. They became familiar with your patterns, your reactions, your habits, and your fears. Yet lately, something has been changing beneath the surface. Not in a dramatic way, not in a way that would immediately attract attention. It has happened quietly, almost invisibly. While others were watching your outer life, something deeper was transforming within you. You have started seeing situations differently. Conversations that once consumed your thoughts no longer hold the same power. Opinions that once felt heavy now seem strangely distant. The shift is subtle, but it is real. What makes this transformation so remarkable is that many people around you may not even realize it is happening. They still expect the old version of you to appear. They still assume you will respond the way you always have. They believe they understand your next move because they are relying on a picture of you that was created months or even years ago. But the truth is that you have been growing in places nobody could see. Every moment of reflection, every difficult lesson, every unanswered question has quietly shaped you into someone different. There is something important here. The distance that is beginning to form is not about separation from people. It is about separation from old limitations. You may have noticed signs already. Certain conversations feel unfamiliar now. Certain environments no longer fit the person you are becoming. Some connections feel as though they are slowly fading, not because of conflict, but because your energy is moving in a different direction. This can feel confusing at first. Part of you wonders whether you should hold on tighter, while another part senses that life is guiding you somewhere new. That inner tension is natural. Growth often feels like standing between two worlds. One world knows exactly who you used to be. The other is waiting to meet who you are becoming. And what happens next may reveal just how far you have already traveled without realizing it. There comes a moment in every meaningful transformation when you begin to notice that your attention no longer follows the same paths it once did. The things that used to pull you in so easily start losing their grip, and at first you cannot quite explain why. You are still the same person, yet something feels lighter. The constant need to prove yourself begins to fade. The urge to chase understanding from people who never truly saw your heart becomes quieter. What is remarkable is that this change rarely announces itself. It arrives gently, like the first light before sunrise, so subtle that you almost miss it until you look back and realize how much has already changed. Many people think disappearing from someone's reach means creating distance with force, but that is rarely how real growth works. More often, it happens because your inner world becomes unavailable to the patterns that once controlled it. The conversations that used to drain you no longer enter your mind after they end. The judgments that once echoed for days lose their ability to follow you home. Even memories begin to feel different. You stop reliving them in search of answers and start viewing them as lessons that helped shape your journey. Don't miss what comes next, because this is where many people misunderstand their own transformation. They think nothing is happening simply because everything appears calm on the outside. What you may not realize is that every season of waiting has been teaching you something valuable. The unanswered questions taught patience. The disappointments taught discernment. The moments when you felt overlooked taught you how to recognize your own worth without depending on outside validation. None of those experiences were wasted. In fact, they prepared you for this exact stage of your journey. There was a time when certain opinions could change your entire mood. There was a time when being misunderstood felt unbearable. But now you are beginning to understand that peace is not found in controlling how others see you. Peace comes from knowing who you are, even when others fail to understand. As this awareness grows, something unexpected starts to happen. The version of you that others thought they could predict becomes harder to find, not because you are hiding, but because you are no longer operating from the same place. Your decisions begin coming from clarity instead of pressure. Your energy starts flowing toward what feels genuine rather than what feels familiar. The old expectations people placed upon you gradually lose their influence, and without realizing it, you begin stepping into a space where fewer voices can reach your confidence, fewer doubts can reach your spirit, and fewer distractions can pull you away from your path. What follows from that shift is often the most surprising part of all. Have you ever looked back at a season of your life and barely recognized the person you were then? Not because that version of you was wrong, but because you have traveled so far inward that your perspective has changed completely. That is where many people find themselves without realizing it. They keep waiting for a dramatic sign that everything is different, while overlooking the quiet evidence already surrounding them. The evidence is in the way you recover faster from disappointment. It is in the way you pause before reacting. It is in the way your heart now seeks peace more than approval. These changes may seem small when viewed individually, but together they tell the story of someone who is becoming deeply rooted in who they truly are. One of the most surprising parts of this journey is discovering that growth often creates space before it creates clarity. There may be moments when certain relationships feel less active, familiar routines feel less exciting, or old goals no longer inspire the same enthusiasm. This can feel unsettling because the human heart naturally wants certainty. It wants to know where everything is leading. Yet some of the most meaningful transitions begin in this exact place. The space you are noticing is not necessarily emptiness. It may be preparation. It may be life gently making room for experiences, insights, and connections that align more closely with the person you are becoming. Stay with this, because understanding that difference changes everything. The reason some people will eventually feel as though you have disappeared from their reach is not because you have gone anywhere. It is because they are still looking for the version of you that existed before this growth began. They are searching for the person who carried old fears, repeated old cycles, and measured their value through the eyes of others. But that version of you has been quietly evolving. Every difficult conversation, every period of reflection, every moment when you chose understanding over reaction has moved you further away from that former identity. What once felt automatic now requires intention. What once felt necessary now feels optional. And that shift creates a kind of freedom that cannot always be seen from the outside. As this freedom expands, you may start noticing a new sense of calm emerging within you. Not perfect calm, not a life without questions, but a steadier presence than you have known before. You begin trusting yourself more. You stop rushing every decision. You allow life to unfold without needing immediate answers to every uncertainty. There is something important here. The deeper your confidence becomes, the less dependent you are on external noise to guide your direction. And when that happens, a powerful realization begins to form. The greatest distance you are creating is not between yourself and other people. It is between yourself and the old limitations that once convinced you that you could never fully become who you were meant to be.